What's up, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we're going to see how you're coming along with your marauding. And is Strife going to change the way this team works? There's only 3 of them in the game right now, them being the Marauders, Mr. Sinister, who I did a character review the other day on, who I've played with a little bit, and I'll show you in this video where mine is currently at. I did go a little bit whale on him and got some pretty good drops, and then Mystique and Sabretooth. So obviously you're missing 2 members. Strife's coming soon. So the question is going to be, is Strife going to be any good? Is he going to help this team do something as a group? And then obviously there's a 5th one eventually coming. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think that 5th one might be and bring to the table a little bit, given some of the skills that we've already got on the table. So before we get into the video, we are like 45 likes away from finally giving away that money from the other video. So click on the link below, enter, and we're gonna get the giveaway. All right, so we're gonna give away some cash. It's been a long time coming. We had to get that thing to 500 likes. So anyway, click the link below, like the video. As soon as it's to 500 likes, we're gonna give away the money. And then in the comments, put Disney or Sony. That will enter you into the drawing for the money. So anyway, having said that, let's go look at Strife. Talk a little bit about what I think of these Marauders, and what the 5th one might bring to the table a little bit. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Bring me WolverThor! Alright, so Strife, let's just show him in game. He's going to be a 45 shard unlock. Blitz coming soon. I don't anticipate that Blitz to be insane, but the Blitzes have been kind of nutty lately. Myself, along with many other long-time and intense Blitzers, are getting pretty burnt out by the mode. There's obviously been a huge contingent of people doing the Blitz and chill for a very long time. But with these bots out there that I really hope that Fox Next does something about, and probably should even do some compensation, to be honest with you, given how much that's kind of made the game harder and probably screwed people out some shards, but that's another Oprah. The scores have just gone bonkers. So, you know, obviously the more teams in the game, etc. too. So this is Strife, Cable's clone. I'm not going to go through the abilities here. I'm going to go through them in msf.gg. They're just a little bit easier to read and get the full numbers on. So anyway, just this is who we're talking about. So let's just go straight up to msf.gg. All right, so Strife's basic ability is called Psychic Strike. Let's drop these down to regular levels. So it's going to attack your primary target for 250 damage. If the target has taunt, gain 1 taunt up to a maximum of 3, clear taunt from target. If Mr. Sinister is an ally, transfer 4 positive effects from the primary target to Mr. Sinister. Depending on focus on this, it'd be interesting to see if he can clear Juggernaut and Colossus. The other ones, whatever, they're fine. Maybe Captain America, but he's not really a factor at this point anymore. So I'll be curious to see how that shakes out. We'll go over the T4 upgrades after stats, so we're going to go through these abilities first. So pretty decent basic here as far as gaining some additional taunts. So the first move you're going to use here is a special, which is gain 1 taunt. And now if you notice, the ultimate below would be used on turn 3. So what's going to happen here is you can use his special, his basic, which is going to increase the taunt, which is kind of nice. So he's just going to keep his taunt up. So anyway, and then you're going to use his ultimate. Anyway, so special, gain 1 taunt up to a maximum of 3. Gain 3 deflect plus barrier self for 10% of this character's max health. Generate 2 ability energy for 2 random Marauder allies. It'd be awesome if they just always went to Mr. Sinister, but anyway, 2 random Marauder allies. His ultimate, apply ability block to primary target and adjacent targets. Attack them for 360% damage. So I love this ultimate. I don't know if the special is able to give himself energy, but if it does, that's going to be sweet. I just the ability blocking 3 different people, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. This, you know, when I talked about Mr. Sinister's focus the other day, these are the focus abilities that you want to make sure you have as far as the team goes. So yeah, this ultimate is solid. It's turn 3 though, which I don't love. So hopefully he's lasting till then. I expect him to as a tank and taunting, but we'll see. His passive on spawn, fill 10% speed bar plus 10% speed bar per mutant villain ally. So that's basically going to probably be all of your team. So it's an additional, what, 50% there, which is nice, I suppose. I think I could see this making him go first, I suppose, so you can immediately taunt. That's probably the goal there, is he just basically goes and taunts. It's almost like a Drax-esque like taunt. On turn, if taunting, gain 1 deflect up to a maximum of 3. So basically he's gonna, I mean, it's interesting because he's gonna taunt here, gain 3 deflect immediately, and then as he's taunting, if he's losing deflects, his passive is gonna give him deflects. So that's a really, really nice ability. All he has to do is have the taunt up there, whereas, you know, a lot of these other tanks, they lose their deflects as they get hit. His passive just was like, oh, I'm taunting, deflect. You know, so that's kind of at least nice. For it'd be awesome if it would give you a deflect for each amount of taunt, but anyway, that's wishful thinking. When an allied Mr. Sinister drops below 50% max health, gain 1 taunt. That's very shield security-esque. Up to a maximum of 3. Gain barrier for 15% of this character's max health. That's great. Mr. Sinister, I've been playing with him a little bit, and I'll show him here right before I go into the stats and all that. But I like him, but it's hard to tell how good he's really going to be without Strife. He's got, I mean, he's great with Magneto, Juggernaut, Pyro, you know, and probably like Mystique. He's fun. He is just such a fun player. So I love this aspect of him because it's like this helps keep Mr. Sinister alive, and I'm finding that it is kind of tough to keep him alive, at least the level I've got. I'm sure if you've got a ton of red stars and stuff, maybe it's easier. And then on war defense, gain 50% resistance. Mutant allies also gain that 50% resistance. Gain the focus, which you saw above. He's got a bunch of abilities that you could, you know, with the ability block. Was it just that one? I guess maybe the clearing of taunt. So you've got a couple, you know, where you need the focus, and then villain allies gain 50% focus. It's interesting to me that it's villain. I'm wondering if there's something to be played with that, where it's this 5th Marauder is gonna be a villain and not a mutant. So anyway, I'm wondering about why that's villain allies. So anyway, something to think and noodle about. So let's look at Mr. Sinister before I show you guys the stats. Okay, so here's my Mr. Sinister. You can see I kind of wailed out a little bit here. I got really good drops. I bought the 2 offers, so that was way more money than I'd want to spend normally on something like this. Wasn't gonna buy them, honestly, unless I got big red stars on them. I clearly didn't. I got 2, but I just have to be able to, in my opinion, show you guys some of this stuff where it's like, I need to share what I think of these characters. You know what I mean? That's the point of content creation, is, in my opinion, is I've got a character, I'll share my thoughts and feelings. You guys can then hopefully that can help you inform how hard you want to push for somebody. Again, Mr. Sinister, I think he looks pretty good. Obviously his kit's great. People are raving about him. I want to see him with a full Marauder team. He's great with Juggernaut, Magneto, Pyro, like I mentioned. But, you know, I don't know. He's not like an Ultron type where it's just like, you know, people are like, oh my God, if he gets red stars, he's going to be the one who's in this new dark dimension. No, he's not a standalone character like that. So anyway, so when I'm talking about Mr. Sinister, you know I'm talking about at least a relatively strong one. So let's look at the stats. All right, so for those who haven't seen, I've got stats for every character in the game. I've got them sorted, and then I rank them. So you go 1 through 117 or whatever we're at now. And then I do an average rank. And that's the way that this spreadsheet's currently set up. You see Strife, all these different stats, ranks, and then their average rank. So what you can see here is that, you know, starting up here, you're scrolling. So Strife is way down the list as far as stats go at 76. That's actually, for all the newer characters, that's really pretty low. I was surprised by that. I was like, wow, that's really kind of lame. Now, I've mentioned in some of my other videos, like sometimes a certain stat will throw that off, and maybe, you know, you should, like Elsa, her focus was really high, and I was like, well, why does she have high focus? She doesn't need it. I actually thought the same thing with Mr. Sinister, though I believe that his stats go to his clones, so you actually want his focus to be pretty high, because he might clone somebody that you want to put bleeds out or something along those lines. You want that person to be able to get their bleeds out. So I get where that focus would be high. So Strife, what's the deal here? So first, health. All right, so he's got barrier, and you know that's based on percent health, and his health comes in pretty solid, 36 ranked, 86k, and again, these stats are all based on level 70, 7 yellow stars, 0 reds, T11, the lowest star tech percent you can get, and then the passive level 4. And the reason I do that is because I believe these to be reasonably attainable levels. Obviously 7 yellow that's questionably attainable for new characters, but at some point it's pretty attainable. So anyway, Strife's health is pretty good. So FoxNext thought that through, the barrier, etc. It's not like super crazy high, but it's good. The damage, 55. I was a bit surprised. This is, in my opinion, a little higher than I thought it would be for someone who's tanking, but it's pretty good. It's a pretty good base damage. I think this will help his ultimate a lot, especially since you're hitting primary and adjacent targets, so really happy to see that. As a tank, his armor rank comes in at 30th, 4579 as far as the armor stat goes. Focus, 53rd, which is, again, okay, that's fine. You know, he's got the ability block that you want to be able to get out there, the clear taunt, so you want some focus there. Plus, there's the percent increases, plus Mr. Sinister increases. So, you know, it's a pretty good focus. Resistance, I'm a little disappointed with here. It's kind of like 93. It's like, all right, I hate when taunters don't have high resist, because if a taunt can be cleared really easily, then there's no point for this person to be a taunter. None. It just drives me nuts. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? So that, I don't love that. And then speed, ranked at 100. Now, normally I'd be like, that sucks, that's terrible. But one, you want a slow taunter, but it's like, well, wait a minute, he's not gonna taunt right away. That sucks. If it takes him forever to taunt, there's no point. But Strife has that passive where he gets all those speed boosts right on spawn. So in theory here, he's gonna, and I love the thinking behind this from FoxNext, is he's gonna drop, get the speed boost instantly, be able to taunt, and then just chill. He's gonna be like, sup, taunting. Again though, if the resistance is too low and he loses his taunt, then he gets there and he's a bump on a log, not doing anything. So you're probably gonna wanna look at resistance boosts for this guy, but as far as passives from other players, etc., or other characters. So again, he comes in at average rank of 61, but the stats you really care about, you know, health, armor, resistance stinks, but you know, and then damage, they're all pretty good, you know. And the speed, even though it really brings that ranking down, I think the speed working with his passive is really nice. So I think the way that FoxNext put Strife together here as far as his stats go, I'm digging it. I think he's going to be a really key component of this Marauders team, again, assuming that he can keep that taunt up without getting it cleared too easily. If a Koi is clearing his taunt, it's a problem, because her focus sucks. Alright, so let's look at the T4s. Alright, so T4s. Now, what I do with the T4s is I rank every T4 in the game. I give them a general classification of great, good, okay, meh, crap, and total crap. I also, with anything that's got a damage increase to it, I put it in a lower section where I compare all of the damage increases and rank those based on the percent increase compared to their base damage, so that I can see what the overall increase is and comparative to all these other ones. So because you could have someone get 100% increase, but their base damage is terrible, versus someone who gets a 20% increase but a great base damage, and the 20% increase is actually better. So anyway, having said that, let's look at what Strife's got in here. So The first one I got from the bottom all the way to the top is his special. His special, bury yourself for an additional 5% of his character's max HP for 15%. Frankly, I think that's pretty terrible. 5% extra barrier, meh. And that's exactly where I got it. It's, whatever. So it's in the meh category. I don't rank the meh category. It's not worth my time in my opinion. So it is in that category. Next up, I actually got his passive. Now, currently I have his passive in the kind of just, I don't know, I'm not really loving it. The reason being is that his passive is when an allied Mr. Sinister drops below 50% max health, gain a taunt up for maximum of 3. Gain barrier for an additional 5% of this character's max health. So again, it's more barrier. It's an additional 5% of the max health, which again, if he's, you know, around 80k, that's what, 4,000 health barrier. It's nothing. So just kind of, and then on war defense, he does give an additional 10% of both focus and resistance for himself, and then mutant allies for the resistance, and then focus for villain allies. So the mutants aren't getting the focus, and the villains aren't getting the resistance. So I'm just kind of like, one, it's only 10%, and two, it's like not all the mutants get the focus, and not all the villains necessarily get the resist. So anyway, that's again, depending who that 5th character is. So it might be fine, but if there's a character that doesn't classify as both a mutant and a villain, then they're not going to get both of them. They're only going to get one. So that's because the stat gain isn't huge and it's a little kind of quirky. I got it down there lower. Next up, I've got his basic. So his basic I have in the good category. Again, I haven't have it ranked within the good category because I just, you know, I'm not sure if I love it or not. We'll see. So his basic is an additional 50% damage to the primary target. And then if Mr. Sinister is an ally, then transfer all positive effects from target up from 3 to Mr. Sinister. Now, normally I really love those up from 3 to all situations. This one, you know, he's probably going to be using this second turn. You know, depending who he's attacking, it's like how many offensive buffs are they going to have that are greater than 3? You know, really, you know, not unless you're playing Ultron type characters are you going to get a whole lot more buffs than 3. Maybe you will, but really I feel like that's where you see it. So it's like, all right, and then the damage increase is the 50. The damage increase does come in ranked at 69 on the whole list, which is pretty decent. But I couldn't classify this as great. I just thought it was good, and you know, we'll see how I could put this in the great category if I'm finding that on his second turn there are multiple situations where whoever you would be targeting is having a ton of positive effects. And one of the things that I'm interested in too is this going to be like a shield operative situation where she's going to take a taunt and also put it on a fury? It's like, oh, I didn't really want that. So it's like, you don't want to put taunts on Mr. Sinister. So, you know, this could go up or down. If this is putting taunts on Mr. Sinister, I'm going to be like, stay away. So let's see what's next. All right, next up is his ultimate. His ultimate is 60%, an additional 60% damage to primary inundation targets for a total of 420%. Now, so since it's damage, it's all about the rank, and that comes in at 47th over all damage increases in the game, which is, again, pretty good, which is why I've got it in the good category. Is it absolutely required? I don't know. I mean, this is a third turn ability. I could potentially see myself lowering this if he's not really getting to that third turn, or if battles aren't getting to the third turn a lot. I see this team as more of a PvP type team, but it could become a raid team if you have good sustain from Mr. Sinister. So, you know, this could be solid, but right now I've just got it in the good category. All right, so those are all his T4s. Let's wrap it up and kind of see what we think in an all-encompassing conclusion. Okay, so that's Strife. We talked about his abilities. We looked at Mr. Sinister a little bit, comparatively speaking, where mine was at and where it gave you an impression of him. We talked about his stats. We talked about his T4 upgrades. Is he good? Are you going to want to spend money on him? Are you going to blitz hard? I think that it depends how much you've got burnout in the game, which there seems to be a lot of, and how much you really want to invest in a Marauder type team. There is so many characters coming at you. Don't forget Beast and Cyclops are coming soon, in theory. You know, and there's a 5th Marauder, there's new Asgardians, there's a lot of stuff out there. So you know, this Marauder team seems to be made for some war defense, given some boost. They're not like a crazy war defense team as far as, you know, adding the stats at the bottom, but, you know, I could see them being a tough out. So do you want to put in effort in them? I would try. I mean, depending where these top 1500 numbers come in at, you know, I could see it being in the 9 mil range. You know, some of the recent numbers have been pretty nuts. Strife seems to be a pretty good player, and I think might be the, you know, the piece that really brings it together. You know, I don't want to see as the most important piece, because if he's there and Mr. Sinister's not, it's kind of like, eh. But those two guys together, I think, make the Marauders happen. So I don't think you can have one without the other. So if you're getting Mr. Sinister, I'd get Strife. If you're skipping Mr. Sinister, I wouldn't worry about Strife. I'd bring them up together so that you can have that team. I'm going to try to get them because I've already clearly went into Mr. Sinister. It's important for me to be able to make content on this stuff. I want to show you guys exactly what these guys are capable of. You know, I'm going to want to try to get top 1500 in Blitz, you know, which might be top 2000 by that time. And, you know, just kind of show them off a little bit. I think it's a good tune. You know, I'm excited to see what these Marauders can do. I want to see who this, you know, 5th Marauder is. You know, is it just a villain? You know, are we gonna get Sunfire, someone damaged? Like, that's, to me, it's, you know, you really need a damage type person, you know, and you know, there's a ton of different Marauders out there. So anyway, that's all I got to say about all this stuff. I'm gonna go after them. I recommend, if you are getting Sinister, or if you already have them, to go for Strife too. Otherwise, I think you're gonna be in a situation where it's like the team's not making sense. So, and if you already pass on Mr. Sinister, then just do your casual, go after Strife, and be frustrated if you come across them, or, you know, see and say, man, I don't have them yet. All right, that's fine. So go to that other video, click the like, get it to 500, give the 50 bucks away. We're like this close. I think I said 45 likes away, and I think on the next one I'm gonna do an even bigger one with maybe a lower number, just because it's been so funny how long this one's taken. But just to, you know, credit you guys for the, you know, keep coming back. Really appreciate it. And again, I want to keep making content for you. It's fun. I enjoy it. I love theory crafting. Love talking to people about it, etc., etc., etc. So hammer down on that like button, notification bell, share with your friends. You know, comment below. Tell me what you think about Strife. Are you going after him? Are you skipping them? You think this commentary is terrible and I have no idea what I'm talking about? Tell me all the things. I love it all. You know, just give me what you got. Let's talk about it. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, and until next time, see you soon.